Hello. Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. So excited to be here. Ah, I want to talk about obsessive behaviors today, doing things that don't matter, but they matter to you, and how it's a part of ADHD. Do you do this? I feel like sometimes when I'm on the podcast that I'm talking and the listeners are thinking, no, we don't do this. We have ADHD, but we don't do this. And then and then I go onto Reddit or Facebook or Threads or somewhere where women with ADHD are talking about the problems they have, and I see that it's super prevalent. So I'm going to go with it being prevalent because otherwise I feel like I'm all alone and relatives are listening to this or something curious about my podcast and thinking I'm crazy. But we're not crazy. We're just humans with challenges, and this can be one way that it manifests. I'm laughing because just leading up to recording right now. So I have a Zoom yoga class in 1 hour. I came in here over 3 hours ago to start, but I did all the little obsessive things. That's after yesterday doing about 6 hours of obsessive things, preparing to record right now. And I know it sounds obsessive, but yeah, 6 hours, who knows? But what can happen is you may see something that maybe, let's say you need to get ready to go somewhere and you need to get ready in an hour and you need to do your hair and your makeup and get dressed. And you find a dress and you think, the hem, there's a little frazzle here or something. You put it on, you think, no, that's not good. And then you start trying on other things and then you start trying on sweaters to go with it because the long sleeve one doesn't fit right. And anyway, you just start going in other directions besides keeping it simple. You start overcomplicating it, or you see an area of the closet that needs to be cleaned and you still have time, but you do the other things instead. Or you decide I'm going to put on a necklace and then you go and look at your necklaces and you start realizing that a lot of your necklaces are old. You haven't worn them in a long time. Then you try a few different ones and then the clasp falls off and then something breaks and you try to fix it. And I don't know if any of this happens, but I find that going to put on a necklace is not as simple as it used to be. I used to just go choose a necklace and put it on. I'm getting older. My fingers don't reach things kind of as easily as defined. I think I need to practice the piano. I haven't practiced the piano in years. Talking about just coming up with a new thing to do. That's what I do all the time. And I'm not trying to just make this about me, but I find that often we have a lot of goals and we can just go in different directions so easily. It's not just um the squirrel thing from the movie Up where the dog just says squirrel, Doug is the dog. I bought the dog Doug. There's a sleeping Doug that they sell on Target's website. That's a really fun story, but we have Doug. So now I know his name, and I know they have Doug days. They have different shows about Doug, and I was reminded of the squirrel, and then all the other dogs. When the dogs are trying to tease Doug or trying to hurt him or whatever, make him go off a cliff. You know, they say squirrel, and then they it distracts him. He does different things to distract them, but the whole idea is that if they see a squirrel, then they just run and go chase the squirrel. Like I usually see squirrels on this swing outside my window, but right now I'm seeing a lizard. And yeah, that's common too. The other day, I walked out on the front porch and there was a big black snake. I think it was a racer snake. I don't know. I've only seen those on the road. I don't know what else would be on my porch. I've seen three snakes on my porch before, and that was a new one. But anyway, I hope snakes don't scare you, but I like them. I don't want them to like come out of nowhere. I like to see them, and then like I'm watching on TV. It can be in real life, but I like them to be where they don't surprise me. Where I go, oh, there's a snake, and I can watch it. But anyway, where did I go with that? Oh, just like we can get distracted by, like something comes up, we see it, Or if you're driving and you're talking to somebody and then you say, "What was that truck doing? I didn't see it." You immediately your attention goes there and it should be because you're driving, right? But in real life, a lot of times we're supposed to be paying attention to something and we just have a lot of ideas, a lot of not only thoughts and ideas that can distract us from what we're doing in the moment, but ideas that just add to our to-do list. Like, I need to organize my necklaces. Do I really need to? Yeah, I should probably get rid of some. I should try to come up with a system to simplify it. So when I get ready, and I have, but I always have to fine tune it. And it may be that way for you that you are just going to do something simple, like go in, look at your makeup and see if, if it looks okay and last minute check on your hair or something. And then you end up thinking, "Oh, I'll put on a necklace." And then you break your necklace and then you try to fix it. And this half a second activity turns into 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes can turn into longer or longer or longer. And we can easily just get into this loop of doing something, but it can be important and it can matter to us, but at times it can be obsessive. And it could be like going to clean the kitchen real quickly and you need to be somewhere on time and you see the floor is really dirty and then you go and pull out what's behind that on the floor and it just goes and goes and goes. And it's not just about does it make you late, but it's what's happening in your brain. And part of that I evaluate because we do have hyperfocus tendencies when we have ADHD. And for me, I think that can just be a really calming state. It's like if you're ice skating and to get ice skating, you have to make some effort first. You have to get your legs moving and your feet moving, but then you can glide, right? Or you're riding a bike. And if you're going straight or a little bit downhill, you can just glide. Is that what they call it with a bike? You can coast. That's what it calls. I haven't ridden a bike in a long time. And I just have to tell you, this lizard, it's just like it looks like an ordinary lizard. Sometimes they get green ones. I'm in Florida. I've probably told you that before. But this lizard must be doing some kind of mating call because his throat chest area is puffing out in a bright red orange, and then it's moving up and down. I don't know if it's probably not trying to scare something because it would just run away, right? It doesn't need to be on my porch swing. But what's it doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Here I am back recording again. I don't want it to distract you, but lizards can be fascinating. So our lives can be filled with lots of things, lots of thoughts, lots of things that we need to do, and then things that we like to do, and then things that we plan to do, and then the things that we just start doing for no reason. And often people think of falling into that trap of watching TV or something. You start watching TV and now you can binge on series and reality shows. And I'm guilty of both of those things. And sometimes that can be calming, relaxing. Sometimes you can multitask. Multitasking isn't the best if you're trying to do two things that take brain power. But if one of them doesn't, like you're watching a show that doesn't really require any brain power, you can get something else done, and that feels good. You're getting stuff done while you watch TV. But other times you can just start thinking, I need to do this now, and you really don't. Like I've been working on changing my intro song, not actually changing the song, but changing the audio quality. And in some ways, it's kind of fun. I mean, it actually is fun. I wouldn't have spent 6 hours on it yesterday if it wasn't fun. But at the same time, are there other things in my life that might have been more important? And will any of you ever notice if the opening song has different sound quality? That's the thing that I evaluate. I think, why am I doing something that doesn't matter to anybody else besides me? And yes, I value myself, but I think that's where it gets to be perfectionistic to a point of obsession where you keep doing it and you think, no, that's not good enough. Nope, 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 nope. And I've done that with my website. It's not that my website's the best in any way, but I will spend time in Canva redoing something, putting it on there, seeing what it looks like, redoing for hours and hours and hours. And I'll go to really professional websites, and it can even be a company like, like Cox Cable or something. It can be just some really professional company. And I'll go to their website and I can tell they haven't obsessed with the size of the button that you push when you say send or submit or any of those things. And it can be really easy to start overthinking it and think that it's that important for it to be that perfect. And am I even the expert to know if it's perfect or not? Probably not. But if I were someone's, if I were my own employee, let's say if I were somebody else paying me to do what I'm doing, I would say you're spending way too much time with this. This is fine. Show me through. Let's choose one. This is fine. And it's hard sometimes to get yourself to stop when you do that. It can be like that with shopping. You can go into a store and have an idea of what you want to buy, and then start thinking, well, if I get this for this person for their birthday, maybe I should get something for that person too. Or maybe I should think ahead for 3 birthdays. Or maybe I should get myself something too. Or you're online shopping and you start comparing with other websites, and you start looking at the inches of the width of a belt that you need. And you're not only looking at what you need and what the price is, and being efficient in any way, but you just go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. I almost think of it sometimes as, in fact, that's how I justify it sometimes, as when you go to college, you really explore a topic and you learn a lot about it, so much more than you would if you just went to a weekend workshop or you watched something, like a documentary or something on that. And and sometimes I tell myself, like yesterday when I was learning about audio and how to use Audacity, I've used GarageBand, but I haven't used Audacity, and all the different kind of equalizers that there are. And 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 I'm not trying to be what they call an autophile. I'm not trying to be somebody. I actually don't really care to learn all of that. I don't want to have a deep understanding of it to know how to do it on my own. But at the same time, I think if I were taking this class in college, the professor would ask me to learn more about it, and I'd have to spend a certain amount of hours doing a project, and I'm doing that, and that's how I justify my obsession with something. Like, you're learning more, and every time you do it, you learn more. However, there's a time constraint in my life. I really shouldn't be spending that much time. And back to noticing what happens in your brain is, often we do these things because our brains do have the ideas and they do have the perfectionistic qualities. And sometimes we can be obsessive about things. Does that mean we have OCD? No. Does it mean we have OCPD? PD? No, but we could. There are people who have both. But it could just be that you have some obsessive behaviors, and maybe it's because you have a curious mind, and that is something else that comes with ADHD, is being curious. So maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's avoidance. Maybe there's something that's more important to do that you dread. Maybe you can't remember what it is that you needed to be doing, which is executive dysfunction too, right? Of, what was I doing? I don't know what I was doing. And it's not like you're even thinking, I don't know what I was doing. You just go to the other thing and you've forgotten that the other thing's a priority. It can get really complicated. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes I kind of think of it, as writing off a day as not productive. And that's okay. Or a learning day or a deep dive day. But I really can't spend my whole life that way. And if you find yourself getting into these ruts sometimes of going into a room to do something and then spending a lot of time doing something that's not really necessary, and you just wonder, what's wrong with me?" Oh, I know I laugh about these things, but I do wonder sometimes. Like, it's not, I'd rather be on a schedule. I would. And yet I love the freedom. And really, I'm back to the beginning of this podcast where, does anybody else deal with this? Or am I just looking like a crazy person right now? I'm just going to be real. It's just how it is. And I'm sure there are some of you who can relate, and those of you who can't just can know what some of us are dealing with. Because when you have so many things, it's like you go to a smorgasbord or some big buffet, and there are so many great entree choices, main dish, desserts, and everything, and you can't eat it all, but you want to eat it all, and you can't eat it all, but you want to. Or so many people. Have you gone to a family reunion? We have a really big family. You have so many people that you want to sit and talk to or visit with and catch up with, but you can't have a quality conversation with anyone. That could be at a wedding, especially if you're the bride or the groom or the mother of the bride, and you're just spending your time taking care of the things that need to be taken care of, and maybe you get to talk to one or two people, but here people travel for a long time, and afterwards you think, I wish I could have more time with them. One little remedy for that, my cousin did this. I thought it was brilliant, but she had her wedding at the side of a lake, at a lakeside. Do you say that? A lake beach. And afterwards, um, she just anybody who wanted to stay stayed for like 3 days. And it wasn't like there was a huge wedding party. It was a lot of relatives, but it was a really great idea because they got married. They didn't take off and have a honeymoon. And then everybody just had a little vacation together and got to have some time together, which I thought was really great. But anyway, so there are solutions, I guess, to some of these things, but your brain can be challenging. And what can feel like a good idea and what can feel like it's calming to your brain. And that's what I feel like some of these things are, some of these repetitive behaviors or things that seem like they're leading to a better outcome, like researching every pair of high heels with a 3.5 inch heel or higher, open, closed toed, whatever, open toes, closed toed for a wedding that to wear for this dress or whatever it is. Those things can seem to have a good purpose. At the same time, could you do that? Could you find a good pair of shoes without spending that much time? Probably. And could you get it over with quicker by buying it sooner and not spending so much time? Probably. So, a lot of things can take over real estate in your brain and become somewhat consuming of this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do. And if it's helping you be productive and it's leading you toward a goal that will be helpful in your life, then that can be good. But if you start to notice that what started out as feeling like a good idea is now feeling like anxiety is coming up or something from just continuing on this loop of now I got to look at this and now I got to look at this and now I have all these tabs open on my computer looking for these shoes. Now it's time to go somewhere else. Now I need to save the tabs. What do I need to do? Put them in the cart, blah, 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 blah. Which websites do it? All of this stuff can be exhausting to our brains. It starts out feeling like it's a safe place to be and a calming place to be because we're doing something that's not overwhelming. But even if something isn't, even if we're doing something that's not something we dread, it's not something that is overwhelming and we've forced ourselves to do, but you realize that you're going into this not just a rabbit hole, but kind of like a cave, and you just get deeper and deeper in it. And sometimes you have to just take yourself back out and just say, okay, this is enough for today, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm done, and be good with that. All that being said, I'm going to test because I have been playing with my audio. I'm going to test taking a drink of water and seeing if you can hear it because I think I've made it so if I take a drink of water, you can't hear it. So I'm going to try just a second. I don't think it picked up on the microphone at all. That is so cool because, well, a lot of things. I mean, I say all this stuff that I spent all this time doing stuff that it has been helpful because usually I have two microphones, two computers, trying to record my audio in a good way and my video at the same time with good audio. And I wasn't able to do it with one computer before, and I wasn't able to even find any place to put a water bottle without it spilling because I had so many things around. And what was the other thing? Um, oh yeah, okay, I'll tell you all the obsessive things I thought. Is my voice is kind of low. I felt like sometimes it got in some rumbly, gravelly area, and maybe it was hard for you to understand. Probably wasn't, but that's something I thought of. No one's ever told me, "I like your podcast, but your voice is kind of rumbly and grumbly and low voice." But that's what it sounded like to me. Yeah, I just kept noticing things like that. So maybe I was listening too high on my earphones, and I have bad hearing, but some sounds pick up differently for me, which could be a problem too. But anyway, okay, back to this. What can we do? What can we do? So I love being curious about my brain, and I hope you do too, because it can help you not only cope with the crazy ways. I'm calling it crazy. It doesn't. You don't have to call it crazy. With the challenging ways that your brain works, the interesting ways that your brain works, and observing that can be helpful because you could just be putting yourself into a I can't do this and other people can category. Like they can do it, I can't. I'm not productive. They are. I'm lazy. No, I'm not. I'm procrastinating. Well, no, I'm not. Like all these battles of trying to figure out where your behavior belongs and how to get your behavior there and judging it in some way. And instead, you could be noticing what's happening in my brain. ADHD can be a big factor. What's happening in my brain that is causing me to do this? And then once I'm doing it, is it helpful? And how long is it helpful for? Maybe it is helpful to sit and watch a TV show. I don't know. Hundreds of years ago, nobody said that, right? So it's not like it solves all the problems in the world. But in our busy lives, sometimes it's nice. It's helpful to just lay down, watch a show, turn your brain off. And there's there's doing something that's okay, and there's something that just becomes too much. And even if you take a relaxing bath for too long, your fingernails will start to shrivel on your toes. I haven't done it that long in a long time, but I used to when I was younger, and they get all shrivelly and stuff. And it's just like, oh, I've been in the tub for a long time. Obviously we can't be in the tub forever, or we can't do some things forever. Brushing your teeth is good to do, but not forever. And so just pacing yourself and noticing what you're doing, how long it's taking. If it's taking a long time and you have a long time, and that's okay, and it's leading to something that's great, that's good. But if you start to notice some anxiety build up, or if you just start to feel not healthy in some way, like I should be eating something. I'm really starving. I've been ignoring these signals. I should go get, go take a walk, go do something, and do that. And maybe you have so many people in your home or in your life right now, you're thinking, I couldn't do anything for 6 hours. What are you talking about? But I tend to kind of go um, all one direction and then all the other direction. And one of the reasons I haven't been on the podcast is I went on a vacation. I was going to make some podcast episodes before I left, and I didn't because I realized not only was I trying to do all the things I had to do to get ready for the trip, but while I was gone, my daughter and her husband and 4 kids came to stay at our house. I was the only one gone from our house. My husband and my other 2 kids who live here were here. But anyway, so I needed to get ready for my trip and them. And then when I came back, they were here. And I love it. I love 100% having kids around. I love children so much. I went to my grandson's preschool graduation yesterday. None of my kids went to preschool. So now I can see, and maybe it's always been helpful. I mean, I'm sure preschool's always been helpful to help kids get ready for kindergarten and stuff. But when my kids were younger, we were home. They were always learning things. I never really thought about it. Taking one more child, one more place. And I stayed at home. I don't have a full-time job or anything. So I never thought of sending my kids to preschool, but we did do some co-op preschools, like with, you wouldn't really call it, they had Joy School. Have you heard of Joy School? Or we did another thing called, what do we call it? It was like a little book time, reading time. I can't remember. It was story time. I knew I'd get there eventually, but we just made that up. That was story time. And once a week, different moms would take turns hosting at their house, read, I don't know, a bunch of picture books to the kids who came, and then we'd all talk while the kids played. We do that for 3 hours every week. And it was just kind of a playtime for the kids and a time for them to come together and read stories, read books. But but the Joy School was kinda like a home preschool. And so I guess they did that, but it wasn't every day. It was I can't remember, once a week, twice a week. But, anyway, so I'd never been to a preschool graduation before, and none of my kids even had a kindergarten graduation either. I know some kids do that. I think the closest we had was a 5th grade graduation, and even or 4th, whatever, one of the schools had elementary graduation, but all the rest of my kids went to K-8 schools, so they didn't do that. And I even thought, yeah, they're not out of like, they're not on their way to high school yet, but it was adorable. And even if you don't have little children and you wanna just do something fun, go to a preschool graduation. It's so it's so fun to see the little kids walk up there, and it could be the same, like, with a piano recital or a ballet, like a dance recital with little kids, but it just had a different feel, like a soccer game, you go there and, parents are like, "You gotta win, go," and stuff, and it's cute watching the little ones that run the wrong direction or kick the goal in the wrong goal, um, but it was just precious to not only see all the children, but to have them celebrated and to feel the joy of all the people who were there, them celebrating children. I just thought there was so much goodness in that room to bring the community together. It was two different cities of two different classes of pre-K, and I loved it. So I love to have people around me. But then after doing all that, so it's like the extrovert, I love, I get all my energy. I'm with all these people. Isn't this great? I love concerts. I love crowds like that and talking to people. And then I come home and it's just like, now I need all this solo time. And then I tend to get in those little tunnel vision projects that I had never even planned on doing. Let's start small and just go, go, go. But yeah, that's all I wanted to do today is just kind of evaluate that and see if you ever find yourself going in a direction that you hadn't planned, if you spend too much time with it, and if you can pull yourself out of it. If you can notice as you go that, hey, it's been this many hours and actively make a decision to stop or keep going. Or if you get tired and you want to keep going, go get a snack or drink and try to go in with blinders so you don't forget to come back and finish. But I think the awareness is not a mindset awareness. It's more of a how do I feel brain activity? Like what's happening in my brain right now? It's interesting because I teach yoga and I just rearranged this little shelf behind me. I put some books behind my head, my yoga books. So maybe I'll look at them more often. But anyway, with yoga, we we focus a lot on on the breathing. So that's an activity of the body. It's an activity that you can either just not think about and you're doing it. Hopefully, most of us, if we're alive, we're breathing without thinking about it. So it's an automatic function. And then it's also something that we can start or stop. We can slow down our breathing. We can hold our breath. We can breathe faster if we want to. And sometimes it's involuntary. Like if you're crying, you might notice your breathing pattern is different. And that's because your body is expelling energy in some way that's needed when you cry. And when you manually create that, then you can really release energy and tension also, even sadness. It's kind of fascinating. But that's one thing that you can be aware of is your breathing. And then you can also notice your heart rate. And that's, what are the ways to do that? They say touching your heart, like you're also feeling it in your hand, but what are the places like your neck and your wrist that you have to use certain fingers because your thumb has a pulse too or something? I don't know. I'm not a medical professional for sure. But but even if I'm laying down teaching yoga and or in a child's pose or something, I can sense my heartbeat. I can feel the pace of my heartbeat. And so those are some things that we can notice, but we can't manually change, right? We can't manually change the heartbeat just sitting there, but you can run or climb a hill or something and see your heart rate go up. And so you can it's not like breathing where you can go, okay, in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or something like that, but you can affect it in some way. And so there are just different things that you can notice. In yoga, we also notice, how does my body feel? Where am I noticing tension? Where am I noticing energy? Sometimes after we've done a deep stretch pose on one side, then you come still and you can just feel all the areas that have been affected. You can feel like the heat or energy. I don't know what it technically is, but you can observe these things. And you can also observe your emotional state. And sometimes it can come out of nowhere. You can just start crying, or you can, anger doesn't usually come out of nowhere, but you can be angry. You can be happy. You can feel good. You can notice your emotional state. But then now that I know how I have ADHD, which has been a little bit of time, um, a little while is what I was going to say, but when you know you have ADHD and you know that your executive function in your brain is not working the same as other people, they actually call it dysfunction because it doesn't work well. Then observing how your brain processes may be affecting how you feel can be really helpful. And noticing how you feel can help you notice maybe what's challenging for your brain. And just kind of putting it all together can help you in your life do things in a way that's more useful, more helpful, more beneficial, maybe help your surroundings look better or help you reach any goal that you have. It's not always easy. It's not always easy. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have 5,000 goals. Probably not true, but if I really made a list, I could probably come up with way more, way more than I even realize right now. I don't know if you have any place in your life where you're really quiet. Being in bed at the end of the day can be one. When I go to church, when I sit there, I think of all these things that I was planning to do, like last week or last month or the month before, that it hadn't even crossed my mind since the last time I thought about it. And I think, where did that go? Where did that go? And why is it coming back now? Well, it's in there somewhere, right? It's like when you can't remember the name of some actor and but you don't, you can't think of it. But then when you're not trying to think of it, you think of it. And I think that's what happens at the end of the day when you're laying down in bed, or you might be in a yoga class, or you might be just getting a break where you're in a situation where you don't have any responsibility. And I think at the end of the day, when you have nothing left on your to-do list but go to sleep, then your brain is relaxing and it might be functioning a little bit better. And some of those things will be available to you. And when you're finding that you can't make sense of things, or you can't get the words out right, or you're dropping things and tripping, and if you have the clumsy part of ADHD, or if you really can't make sense of something, or if it's really overwhelming, a lot of that could have to do with having too much going on, and needing to just take a few steps back and notice, and write it down, of course. But yeah, that was just my whole spiel about having so many things to do and so many things I want to do. Ah, yeah. And then I hear somebody, you know, talk on social media or even at church or on a podcast about new things that we should be doing to be a responsible citizen, or get involved, or inspiring you to do this, all these things. I know I'm supposed to be inspiring you and with my podcast. But I hope I'm not adding to your to-do list, because I feel like I can't go in another direction, people. I already create too many directions for myself. But speaking of inspiring women with ADHD, if you're listening to my podcast and you have filled, I gotta get that word out, filled out my form to be a guest on my podcast, I have not forgotten you. It's just one of the many things I was trying to perfect first. One is the sound, because I gotta get that all right to be able to interview people and not do it on too computers at the same time, different audio, different video. And yeah, there's just some steps with scheduling and stuff that I have to do, but I haven't forgotten you because I want to have people on here that can have insight to inspire you, but also highlight women with ADHD who are inspiring to me and I would think to everyone because we're all on a journey where we're trying to figure things out and do the best we can. And doing the best we can sometimes means giving ourselves permission to not do the best we can. Does that make sense? You don't always have to like go bigger, go higher, be a perfectionist. But it's not a competition. But we do want to feel good about what we do in life and and how we manage our lives at home and not just look at the things that aren't done. Because I could look out that window right now and I can tell you a list of them with my yard. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. How much do you want me to share? I know there's oversharing, but I'll share one thing. Just speaking of my yard. So we live in a neighborhood where everyone has really, really, really big yards, like at least an acre, and we have five. So it's kind of a um, what do you call it? Like where it's like ironic, because to me, if you have 5 acres, you're not in a neighborhood, you're out in the country. Well, we are out in the country, but there's a gate on our neighborhood. They like to have gated neighborhoods where I live, or they like to have HOAs. And they decided that all of the fences along the fronts of our houses need to be replaced. And they told us it was going to cost $9,000. Well, we don't have $9,000. This is over a year ago. And a lot of the people thought the same thing. We don't have $9,000. And so I think if enough people got involved that they found someone who could do it for a lot less. So 1,500 is what we had to pay. And then a few days ago, oh, a few days, like last Friday. So it wasn't a few days ago, but a few days before they started on the fences, they wrote and said, we're starting on the fences. You have to clear space, like how your yard looks, the landscaping behind the fence, 3 feet on the other side, because they maintain the other. They just kind of mow that little grassy area. But the rest of us have either yards or crazy jungle forests that you can have in Florida. There's just trees and there's soft palm meadow bushes and there's all kinds of who knows what growing. It's just green, 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 and it just doesn't stop growing. And then the trees just have limbs that fall, 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 fall. So this yard is not easy to maintain, but it's pretty because you can just say, well, it's a forest, so that's fun. But our fence line, we have a really wide triangle. So our fence line is probably longer than anyone else. So we're getting a good deal to pay the same price for our fence as everyone else. But clearing out that 3 feet, I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. So that's on my to-do list that I probably won't do. They said if we don't, then they'll do it and charge us for the landscaping. But I've been looking at the rest of the neighborhood, and they've been putting up the fence, and so far they haven't been clearing anybody's yard that's kind of jungly like mine. So I probably will like clear some of it because if they want to have to paint from the other side, they can't be standing in that. I mean, I want to comply, but that's another to-do list thing. And I'm not the only one who lives here, but we all have busy lives. And I hadn't thought that that would be something I need to do this week or this last week. Thankfully, they started on the other street first. They haven't started on our street. But anyway, thank you for letting me share my life because I do like to share. And oh my goodness, it's almost time to get ready for my yoga class. I have to rearrange things in here because I record facing the bookshelves for podcasts and facing that way for yoga because that's the long way of this room. So, anyway, let me know if any of this was helpful and what you're interested in with my guests, what your challenges are with ADHD, because I've had a lot of people. What I basically ask them to do is tell me something they struggle with, and we talk about it and come up with solutions. I'm a solutions person, but it's not always easy to practice on myself. But I do a lot. I do practice it a lot on myself. But I'm really learning that with ADHD, you never. It's not like you're you're just at some point where it's never a challenge. You're always going to be strategizing, working with it. and streamlining any system that you can to make it a little bit better, and continually noticing what's going on that might be leading to something that's not what you want to do. Clear as mud, as my grandma would say. Anyway, thanks for letting me be here. I will be back. I don't have any trips planned. Mm, no long ones until August, and that's not even long. It's a half a week. So I just have a little weekend Miami trip in a month. I think that's it. But you never know. Life can be full of surprises, but I'll try to be here as often as I can. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Help other women find the show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Help other women find my show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Hurry before you forget.